Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all my cars and trucks and SUVs and motorcycles and the dogs, the kid, the life. Good morning there. Thanks for tuning my channel. If you're a regular to get the morning conversation going, where I just like to kind of share my ideas and thoughts and the love of my cars and my addictions, as many do know if you watch my channel, the addictions of the cars and the trucks and the motorcycles. And you know what's interesting to me throughout my life is, can you just admit you got a problem? Can you admit that, or do you just try to have an excuse of your problem? And I thought this morning, this theme of this week's conversations was on Monday morning, it was the giving conversations. Tuesday morning was the taking conversations. Wednesday, yesterday was the mad conversation. And I thought to myself, today it would be the excuses conversation. Doesn't it seem that we live in a society more than ever that it's always an excuse for explanation of things? And that's why I think this week's conversations really kind of go with one another. Because I think we just live in such an age of, it's the constant excuses. And for me, it's just, I'm getting to a point in age in life that it's just really maddening. Because you see so many things that you know are just right, but yet the excuses allow it to be wrong. And what I mean by that is things that are going on in society today in so many aspects of everything are so wrong. And as an individual, I think somebody can look and see how it could actually be right on how they could do things, but the excuses prevail so that the wrong continues on. And I think the car channel I have could be used in so many ways of just because of the ice age and EV age that we're witnessing. And more than ever, I think the excuses are going to be abundant of the EVH. And so here's the shop, and let's get the dogs in the office, because all it takes is somebody walking up the street. There's a Kiefer dog who put his water bowl. He likes to carry around the water bowl. What is that all about, right? Doesn't get fed enough water. Is that an excuse of him saying, hey, you guys don't give me enough water. Where's the other boy? He's in the house begging for food as usual. So I get the lights on in the shop. Got the Gold Rush here. Kind of should have showed that. Got the Gold Rush back in the shop. Rearranging things. I got the Power Boost. Ford Power Boost up at the dealership because it's got all these excuses, all these issues going on with that vehicle, of all these updates that the vehicle has to sit there for a good day of just getting software updates for all the issues with all the technology in his cars. So if you watch my channel, you'll see that yesterday I was up at the Coons Baltimore Ford, and they've got a Dark Horse that came in, and it's the exact same color as this car. And in so many ways, this is the exact same car, but it's not. I mean, so for some people who watch my channel, they're like, why would you buy the Dark Horse? Well, I can't assure you that I will buy the Dark Horse, but there is differences. The underpinnings of the vehicle are different on suspension-wise. The manual transmission is a Tremec versus the M82. You do have a different wing in the back. You do have a different exhaust on it with an active exhaust. You do have a 500 horsepower motor. You do have inside the actually adaptive cruise control capability. That funny, no key. So it's telling me this stuff. These cars are about to drive you nuts. You hearing this? It just it has the leather vinyl trimmed out seats. It has the factory shifter knob there that looks pretty nice. It's a good looking car. It has the front aesthetic basically stickers on the hood to give it a little bit more character. It has a different wheel and tire package, a little bigger. But this car here, to me, looks every bit as good, if not better, than that Dark Horse. And in so many aspects, for what I do, it's going to do everything I need to do at a lot less money. But at the same time, I'm always the car enthusiast that's always about You guys want to tell me you'll take my white Mustang GT? Yeah, let's go ahead and evaluate what that thing's worth, and to make a deal go for that same color, borderline look-alike car. Yeah, but you mean for me, I'm always up for the idea. I don't think the numbers will make any sense. I don't think that'll really come to be. But at the same time, with my kid, she's kind of really against it. She'd rather keep the white Mustang over there. So you see the white Mustang there? She's actually, she claims she's not really excited about this new Mustang because the interior, the dashboard and all, she's very, she just doesn't really like it. So I'm kind of taken back. I'm really surprised as my daughter, she just doesn't really get into all this technology stuff, and which I can understand that. So yeah, so how does that play out? And what the point is, an excuse to get rid of the white Mustang to justify me wanting that dark horse. I mean, and that's kind of how things seem to work in life, is you'll try to use something to accomplish something else. And, you know, for me, I could say, well, the white Mustang's going to continue to depreciate. The dark horse, it would be for the, you know, the immediate future. It's not going to have terrible loss in value. So as far as buying that car and having the fun day, and then at the same time, my daughter with a car here, which we could do a few little bit more mods to it, not a lot. And so I'm just kind of really taken back that she really is not really one direction, because she would get that. So think about this. The channel said, so your 19-year-old daughter can have the brand new GT Performance Vapor Blue with your mods on it, and she doesn't like that idea, and she'd rather keep her 2020 previous generation Mustang. In so many ways, yeah, I guess that's kind of where we're at. So, yeah, it's always interesting. There's always behind-the-scenes things going on when I try to kind of sometimes do deals on certain things, and the kid's like, no way. Just like 450 over there. She'd have a very hard time of me justifying to create an excuse of why I would get rid of that for something else. She just would be all over the place on that one. The Dodge or the Ram truck, same thing. These are vehicles she just is so attached to. The Harley-Davidson Street Bob, I finally kind of got her away from that to the Lowrider ST, because I think that's just a better package. And now she's getting to see how that really is. But here's the update on the Indian motorcycle. What excuse is Indy going to have for me on the Indian motorcycle? Well, for the record, I don't have an update, because today's the day I go down to Motorcycle to Dulles to drop off my Triumph Rocket for its first 500-mile service. My good friend Pete, who's a service writer, manager, director down there, he claims it's a 3-hour job. They have to change out the rear axle oil or something like that. Something in that hub down there, that oil has to be changed or something. I'm not real sure if I understood him right, but it's a 3-hour process. So my thoughts were, I'm going to drive this bike down today, and I'm going to go pick up my Indian motorcycle and ride it home, because it's going to be fixed, because they've taken apart the whole vehicle for a whole nother time. If you're watching the channel, they've taken apart the whole vehicle, and I don't even know if they've gotten it done. I mean, in some ways, it wouldn't surprise me at all if I go down there today and they're still working on it. It just wouldn't, you know, be, and then it turns into excuses. It'll be, well, this guy didn't show up, this didn't happen, we're behind. I mean, does anybody, and that's what I say is, as we progress in life, especially for me, the constant excuses, it just starts to wear on you. And I think that's where some people just sometimes just come unglued, because they're just constantly having to hear the so-called excuses. Yesterday I was at Coons Baltimore Ford. There was a guy around my age standing at the front counter arguing with the sales manager about how his truck or car, whatever it was, I think it was probably a truck, could have been a van, who knows, that it was out of service because there's a part that they can't get the part. And, you know, to that individual, it's a constant excuse. He claims he doesn't have a vehicle right now. Now, I don't really know how that all plays out, being that how shouldn't Ford be putting him in a vehicle if they can't get the part for his vehicle to be fixed? I don't know. But in his eyes, it's just an excuse. And that's what happens. That's what drives you to get very confrontational and very, and as I said this past week, it takes your position from giving to taking to being mad. And so that's why I thought this morning, we aren't at the age the ice age, which is trying to transition into the EV age. I mean, what is going on? I mean, for me, it just really is a head scratcher on how Ford has gone and spent, billions of dollars to bring the EV market to this country and to try to outdo Tesla by bringing a more affordable electric vehicle and by bringing a Ford truck that's electric. And for me, it's just, once again, a head scratcher where these vehicles now, all you're hearing now is excuses from Jim Farley and the other, Mary Barra, whatever her name is, for General Motors. But for Jim Farley, his position is, his excuse is that the consumer just doesn't really want this vehicle. Did you just hear that? Jim Farley, in so many words, is expressing that, for the most part, the consumer isn't excited about these electric vehicles. To the point, I don't know if this is factual or not, I just read last night that 700 people have been idled at the F-150 Lightning plant because they can't continue to build these vehicles because they're not selling. There's too many in the market, and they're losing just billions of dollars. And so, and you just have to say to yourself, but why? Why, Jim Farley, did this play out this way when so many people were telling you from day one that this country just isn't ready for this? So now the excuses begin. Well, how does he present this to his board members? How does he present it to the shareholders? How does he present it to the Ford family of what's the direction you go with all these electric vehicles, where now it turns into the excuses that the consumer doesn't want it? But from day one, did you ever take the time to do your market research and see if the consumers actually want it by doing market research on reaching out to all the Ford truck guys and Ford people, and what percentage of people said they would want an all-electric truck or all-electric car? I mean, has anybody ever done the research? So what I think you'll hear is, which in so many ways I'll agree with the excuse, is the green agenda activists, for the most part, threaten Jim Farley and Ford of lawsuits of not trending or going their direction of the green agenda's policies. And I talked about this in great length in many of my other videos about how the green agenda is a huge billion-dollar industry. It's an industry. It's a billion-dollar industry of foundations throughout the world that show up at these big manufacturing companies like General Motors, like Stellantis, like Ford, and they, for the most part, manhandle these boardrooms and CEOs of these companies that they have to bend to their policies of the green agenda, and if they don't, they're going to be attacked. And the Akio Toyoda of Toyota, I talked about this in great length here a while back before he actually resigned in so many ways. He's the grandsons of Toyota, the founder, and he was being beat up because he was not bending to the green agenda, to the point the green agenda was filing lawsuits against Toyota that they're not following the green agenda guidelines and policies. And so he fought them to the point the boardroom and so many other people recommended he step down, and he stepped down. But now here he is sharing his stories in glee of how many of these companies are going broke building these electric vehicles. And what's their excuse? I guarantee their excuse is going to be that, well, the green agenda came to us and we had but no choice, and we had to follow their policies. But that seems to be changing. The attitude does seem to be changing. It seems that Stellantis is going to build, in my eyes, I think Stellantis is going to bring the muscle power and the ICE back to the table. I think that we're going to see that. I showed you yesterday and the day before that the new Ram truck is going to give you options. You're going to have ICE, you're going to have PHEV, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, or just an electric vehicle. Ford, Jim Farley, his whole goal now is to build like the Power Boost type of vehicle that I have, where it's a gas hybrid setup, I mean, they're going to go all out on their whole line of cars of being more so hybrid. Toyota's number one selling product, which they can't even keep in stock, are their hybrid vehicles. Did you hear that? Toyota's number one most profitable line of cars is hybrid vehicles, not the electric vehicles. They're not in it to it. The Japanese, what's very interesting, the Japanese, between Nissan, and I know Nissan had the Leaf. I get that. But between Nissan, Mazda, Subaru, and Toyota, they're all sitting on the sideline. Have you really paid attention to that? They're not really all in. Honda, they're not really all in on this electric total agenda. They're truly sitting back. Honda and GM, I think, partnered up initially to build an SUV. I think that GM and Honda shook hands and got away from that. What is going on? I mean, I think, and now if you go to Elon Musk, I think Elon Musk is even starting to get a little nervous because he's seen what's going on our domestic side. But Elon Musk set up over in China. Elon Musk is over there in the European China market, and he's very small compared to other China manufacturers. And so let's get up here, get upstairs, instead of walking around and getting you all dizzy here. But yeah, we see here the Mopars are back in the garage because, and here's the challenge. Let's just say I got that Dark Horse. Where am I going to park it? So something has to be sacrificed to go outside for a nice vehicle. And right now the white Mustang sits outside, and yeah, nice vehicle, but that's not like a really specialty vehicle. So the odds are the Dark Horse would come in the garage and the Vapor Blue is going to go outside. I mean, the Super Bee as well, but the Super Bee is just such a cool vehicle. Yeah, so, but does that play out? I don't know. I just don't know if that really makes sense. The daughter is really, kind of against it. It's just not really that excited about that idea, which I get all that. And that's fine. It's not a real big deal. If something's meant to be, it'll be. If it isn't, it isn't. That's a challenge in life. They'll create the excuses for themselves to enrich themselves or to get things done and to be the power of others by, in some ways, creating the excuses. All right, get up here in the office. Not really that cold. It's incredible. It's really incredible on how it's such warm. It's such a nice November. I mean, we've had Novembers where it's just been brutally cold. If I've lived here long enough, I've lived here since 1980, 43 years. And so I've been around long enough, and it just seems like this area has transitioned into just a totally different type of weather pattern to a degree, but the DC area's always been more of a mild winter than a really bad winter for the most part. So right now the EV agenda is, what is going to be. I mean, it gets so deep and heavy, and it gets really maddening. In this type of conversation on my channel, I'm sure for the person that is totally convinced that the EV vehicle is going to solve the world's problems, they're not going to listen to my channel. They're going to turn it off. They're going to be like, well, this guy's an anti-electric vehicle guy. And I'm not an anti-electric vehicle guy. I think the electric vehicles are very cool. I own them. But I don't think that it's cool that the green agenda in the government of our country is going to tell me how the world ends and how doing all these little things really makes the huge difference of what's really going on in the planet. I just don't believe that. I don't buy into it. I think that it's like anything. It's all about trial and error. And I think just to go one whole direction to just just total transition, just a whole other way without giving it time is a huge mistake. And why is it that this sitting administration is in a rush to do so many, in my view, radical things? It's really bad. And we live in a time of the media machine feeds the excuses like never seen. It feeds it all day long, and it's really bad. And I'm sure for a lot of people, that's why a lot of people are disconnecting from the social media, from the news. I mean, I just don't watch the news. I really don't. It's such a waste of time. You see these people that have agendas on their news programs day in, day out that make millions of dollars a year, and enrich themselves for getting you all riled up when nothing comes from the end of their conversation. Nothing comes. They will talk all day long about, I mean, it's classic. Fox News will talk all day long about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. MSNBC will talk all day long about Donald Trump and Don Jr. I mean, it's just like, right. And what comes from all that besides the brainwashing of the hate of these people? But then the day, really what comes from the end of these people telling you all this corruption is going on, and is anybody really per se put in jail? Is anybody per se taken out of power? And for 99% of the time, no, they're not. And so it's like, wow, well, this is exciting. Let me just listen to this conversation and get all riled up. But you have individuals who follow these people by the millions that enriches people to have the same agenda every day. And in borderline, it's excuses, conversations. That's all it is. And so for me, on my own YouTube channel, sure, it's a fine line of me trying to bring content that shares my love and care about cars and my adventures. But at the same time, for me, I own the ICE vehicles. I own the EV vehicles. I deliberately named my channel ICE Age CV, Internal Combustion Engine Age, not because of the Ice Age movie. That has nothing to do with it. I never even seen the movie, just so you know. I have no idea. I've never even watched the movie. The whole point is I knew that this new EV age was going to be a challenge. And I knew that the EV transition would be even more challenging. And that's why I've created my channel Ice Age, because to me, I'm able to share with others the love of my ice. And for me, I went out and bought electric vehicles for a few different reasons, and that's where it kind of intrigues me. Why did you buy an electric vehicle? And I've said from day one, the biggest excuse I think will always be because I don't have to go to the gas station anymore. That's the number one thing I hear of people's mouths when they have an electric vehicle. I don't go to the gas station anymore. Okay. All right. But you just spent $90,000 in your F-150 Platinum truck. To go back and forth to work every day of your life, you could have bought a $50,000 F-150 truck, and you're telling me you're going to burn up close to $50,000 in gas? Does anybody have a friend that burns $10,000 a year? I mean, does anybody here that commutes back and forth to work spend $1,000 a month in fuel? I mean, I guess some do if you live 200-300 miles from your job. I mean, I don't know. But the biggest thing is most people now remotely work. So where's that conversation? Why'd you buy an electric vehicle if you remotely work? I mean that's even another head scratcher. It's like, okay, so for me, I've got a legitimate business where I run around and do 150, 200 mile days every day of my life. I'm not embellishing. I am behind the wheel of a car for the most part 6 days to 7 days a week. And my daughter works for me pretty much 5 days a week doing about the same thing. So I rack up tons of miles. So for me, an electric vehicle, in my business, it does make sense because I can save a lot of money on fuel. But at the same time, is that the driving factor of me buying these electric vehicles? It really was not. That was not what was the driven factor. The driven factor was, for me, I'm just a guy that likes to have the latest, greatest technology and change up in different things. And that's the reason I bought the electric vehicles. It was the latest, greatest technology. I get to experience the electric vehicle. But the biggest thing is I wanted to learn more of the reality of these electric vehicles. And if you really do watch my channel, you're going to see that when I bought that F-150 Lightning truck in the summer of 2022, you see, or 2021, geez, I can't even keep track anymore. Yeah, summer of 2022, you're going to see me do a whole tow review video of that vehicle and sharing my true experiences of you using that vehicle to tow a trailer. And if you buy it for that reason and you're going more than 100 miles, you've made a big mistake. I'm talking about an enclosed trailer. I'm not talking about a little dinky pull behind Tractor Supply dinky ass trailer. I'm talking about a real trailer where you're going to load up either motorcycles or car. And in that aspect, the Ford F-150 truck is the worst possible vehicle you could ever buy if you have to go tow things at 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 mile road trips. So it's a total no. But for me, I got to experience that. I got to go out in the field and witness on how these Electrify America charging stations are ridiculous. They don't work. That's the biggest complaint in the electric charging station infrastructure in the country is these charging stations aren't maintained. They can't keep them working properly, so it's a huge challenge. I was watching Lucky Lopez the other day about him talking about these auctions and bringing these cars that nobody pays for. So what is the reason all these cars are going back for repossessions? What is the excuse? What is the person telling the bank when they call? I can't afford the car. Well, why not? Well, I just don't make as much money. Really? You don't make as much money, but in your credit application, you put down you made $100,000 a year. Yeah, well, that's going to change. Well, it's changed. I mean, what's the excuse of these people who bought all these cars that now don't want these cars? What's the excuse? It's huge excuses all day long because of all the free money that's been turned off by this federal government and city administration. It's all gone. So now people are facing reality. The promise of Joe Biden eliminating all these people who had to pay college tuition, that hasn't panned out for everybody. So they're having to start to pay the college tuition. For everybody that voted in this administration to build back better, you're paying the highest price for everything than you ever have in modern times. So there's all your excuses for the guy that I don't know if I'm the guy, the bank's on me. Yeah, this administration, I never realized when I bought this car back in 2021 that fuel prices are going to be through the roof and my food prices will be through the roof and my adjustable rate mortgage on my house would be through the roof. And the list goes on and on and on. I can't afford this car that I signed off on because I didn't realize that this administration would allow all this craziness of how expensive everything is. And now my insurance has gone through the roof too because I own an electric vehicle and insurance companies are getting hammered by these electric vehicle crashes where the list goes on and on and on. Excuses. Can you imagine being a Tesla owner who sits around for close to a year to get your Tesla car put back together after an accident? It's going to be excuses all day long about that we don't have the parts. We can't get the parts. We don't have the parts. But back to Lucky Lopez, he claims that when he goes from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, he sees these charging stations, which there's just apparently select few because there's such a distance between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. I have no idea. I've never driven that road. I haven't been out there. But the way he presents it, there's not much charging infrastructure. So when he drives by these charging stations, people are lined up. So I guess if you're out in that area, I'd love to hear a story where somebody that's on my channel and say, oh yeah, I live in that area. When you pull up to charge your car up, that turns into a six-hour adventure because you're going to wait in line for each person to charge their car. And if you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars back, it isn't that my car doesn't charge in 20, 30 minutes or 40 minutes, is I can't get to the charging station. So I don't really know, but he presents it like it's a fiasco. So what's the excuse for that? Where's the electrical charging stations? Well, yeah, those are all being put in as I speak. So-called they are, which I'm sure they are, but who's going to maintain them? Where's the money? I looked into getting the charging station business many, many years ago, and I saw instantly you'll never make any money anytime soon. There's no way. You're making any money. So this is all stuff being subsidized by the government and by car companies to put all these charging stations in that aren't in any near future. I mean, I know people are like, yeah, but it's like, but come on, you're telling me you'll give me $10,000 a day, I'll never pay it back to you, you're good with that? I mean, sincerely, can you do that? Hey, everybody, watch my channel, YouTube channel, give me $10,000. One day I'm going to put that money in the right account, the right business structure, and one day maybe I get you back for your $10,000 investment, you get 15 out of it. But I don't know if that's going to be like 5, 10 years, or 20 years. Would you please send me some money? This is what you're dealing with this whole EV transition. That's what's becoming very, very apparent for all these big automotive manufacturers. Are seeing that the infrastructure isn't playing out. The tons of people buying into these vehicles isn't playing out. So now Ford, especially Ford, they have a massive amount of vehicles sitting on lots that have debts on them that they need to get out in the field to be going up and down the road. And I mean, wow. I mean, it's just, and so so once again, I wonder if the people here, I think I know the common answer. It's a common answer of these electric vehicles. I would say number one would be they're too expensive. I think that would, in some ways, yes, they are. Number two, I think it's going to be the charging infrastructure just isn't there to be reliable for me to have confidence in to do that. And yeah, there's your next excuse. Exactly. You're exactly right. Number three, I don't know if I just really think the electric vehicle is really going to save the world. That's right. Number four, I just really like the sound of an engine. I just like that exhaust sound. I just really do like that feeling going down the road of hearing that engine roar as I kind of get into it. I mean, okay. Number five, I don't have the ability to do these fast chargers at my house. So I don't know how I'd charge the truck in a very efficient way. I mean, there's just five things off the tip of my tongue of why people. But here's the thing: why didn't Ford or General Motors or these other big companies ever reach out to people and say, "Hey, if we could bring an electric vehicle, blah blah blah, what would you think?" And I think, unfortunately, there's so many people who are naive to even understand an electric vehicle. Many of them probably would have raised their hand and said, "Yeah, that sounds great," not knowing or understanding. But me buying these vehicles, I have firsthand experience. I have an electric Ford Mustang Mach-E in my driveway that my wife won't drive. Her biggest concern is that she's going to go to work, and then her boss is going to ask her to drive somewhere that's going to limit her range of getting to where she wants to go. So she won't do it. For the most part, she won't drive that car because she has that range anxiety. And for the record, that Ford Mustang Mach-E, that's a small platform car. The Ford Mustang, in my view, I've never done the specs, is a bigger vehicle. And that car, that Ford Mustang car that does this as it goes down the road. And don't get me wrong, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, it's a cool car. It's a fun car. It's a fast car. But it's a heavy car. And it does do, this going down the road. Okay? It gets a little bit of the wave. And I've even noticed when I follow and I'm down the road and I see a Mustang Mach-E, I see these cars kind of do the wave. The Ford Lightning truck, that's a very heavy truck. It's very nice. There's nothing wrong with a Ford Lightning truck. But at the same time, if a guy comes to me right now and says, I just don't make a lot of money, I just need a really good truck, and, what would be the right direction for me? I would be like a gas engine truck. I would not buy an electric vehicle truck. Now, keep in mind, yes, there's less expensive F-150s that are very bare bones that you can get, I think, for 40s or 50 grand. Okay, but these are the smaller battery packs, smaller range. These are the 98 kilowatt battery packs that are probably 230 mile range vehicles. And in real driving, that's 180 mile, 190 mile driving. And real driving, once you go up down the highway, you're going to have to stop at every 100 to 150 miles to recharge the vehicle because of the infrastructure of the charging stations aren't every 20 miles. We're not there yet. So I would, now if the guy had good money, I would say the Power Boost. I would say get the Power Boost. We're getting the gas electric hybrid. That's a really good setup, a really good package. I love my Power Boost. I would let go of my Lightning truck all day long for the Power Boost. So for the excuses, and that's the challenge, is now we have a city administration that doesn't want to really share this information with you. Is, in all reality, Build Your Dream, BYD, that's a major electric manufacturer in China. Warren Buffett, Berkshire, whatever, that conglomerate, his major investment company, he's a major investment, and I've talked about this BYD company. They're over in China. They're building dirt cheap electric vehicles. So if you could get a $20,000, $30,000, 200, 300 mile range beater electric vehicle, would you sign up for it? And I'd be willing to bet that then that kind of changes the dynamics of things. In some ways, some people would be like, yeah, that'd be a great beater vehicle to go back and forth to work on if it's going to be that, and I got the charging station for it. But here's the thing. The Trump administration went after China for all the China stuff and was really in the process of really changing the dynamics of our reliance on China, for the record. And the Biden administration has kept Trump's policy in effect that has a 25% tariff on any China-built car coming to our country. And in so many ways, Joe Biden, he doesn't want these China cars in our country. It would totally destroy his Inflation Reduction Act business model which is a government business model I've talked about it a gazillion times. It's the government handing out billions of dollars to create the future of the electric vehicle infrastructure. And if China shows up, then it's going to destroy that whole infrastructure because China's going to be bringing cars here that this country can't build for $20,000, $25,000. We're already hearing that the Ford Lightning is a $36,000 loss per vehicle. Apparently Lucid, you got Fisker, you got Rivian. Apparently, I think it's Lucid is losing $436,000 per vehicle they sell right now. I mean, but these guys have stocks, or do they even have stock anymore? Rivian. I'm sure some people are like, why wouldn't you get a Rivian? No way. Rivian's not a truck. Anybody who watches my channel is Rivian, I know they'll be pissed for that statement. It's not a truck. There's no way I could work out of a Rivian truck in my business. There's no way. There's no way. If you saw what I do, and you saw the equipment and all the stuff that I have in my vehicles and to work out of them on a daily basis, that Rivian is the worst. It is. And the Rivian's a cool truck, don't get me wrong. I don't want to call it a truck because I've driven it. The cup holders in the thing, there aren't any cup holders. It's little slide out tray things that you put your drink into. The back seat, I don't know how you get in out of that truck comfortably. There's no room in the back. There's no side pockets for any holders. The bed of that truck is dinky. There's no way that truck would work in my business. It's too small. So, yeah. Am I making excuses? That's not excuses, but for Rivian, it's like, what's going on? Why? Okay. So for Rivian, they brought that expensive, very expensive, and there's a video of me at Tyson's Toyota. Go to Tyson's Corner, Tyson's Toyota, Coons Toyota. There's a video of me test driving that vehicle, and that they wanted like $140,000 for that truck, or $130,000. And just so you know, Coons Automotive Group, somebody got a hair up their ass to go out and buy all these Rivian trucks, and they put them at X amount of their dealerships. And this is no lie. They couldn't sell these things. They took a $250,000 loss of getting rid of these trucks. And I'd be willing to venture if they didn't get rid of them back then, they get rid of them now, probably $500,000 loss. So what was the excuse of the guy that thought that was a great idea? I mean, think about it. What guy is like, oh, yeah, this is such a great idea. What's the excuses why it didn't work? So yeah, it's all about the ICE age versus the EV age, and that's why I'm always saying to everybody here who watch my channel, get an ICE Age TV sticker and promote the channel, because we're about the ICE age. We want this internal combustion engine age to continue, and I really think that the big three and so many others are listening more than ever and are hearing that this EV age is not what we want. Look at Shawn Fain. What was the big UAW whole shamble thing all about? They have a huge concern that this EV age is going to eliminate their union. Now, I think it's classic. Here's Shawn Fain, who's pounding his chest and that's the challenge that we have in today's society. We live so much in the future. What's going to happen? And when the future eventually comes to be today, what are the excuses of why it didn't play out of what the future is supposed to be? I mean, this is where we are more than ever. Ever. Look at defund the police. The crime is through the roof. Do you realize that the crime is not even reported anymore? Do you understand this? There's not crime being reported anymore because they have created such high thresholds for a criminal report that it doesn't get reported. So people are so stupid out there that think that the crime has gone down. Yeah, I use the word stupid because it's sad that we're witnessing among us more than ever in a time in our lifetime that people are buying into these agendas and these narratives, and they don't have a clue of what is actually going on around them. It's really bad, and it's sad. And so for Shawn Fain, he gets the UAW to pump their incomes, just healthy incomes, for being in so many ways manual labor on the line, assembly line employees. And he thinks he's going to go to Tesla's plants, and he's going to be able to convince all these Tesla employees under Elon Musk's rule that they're going to unionize Tesla. Now, it would be to his advantage to do that, because then that way Tesla doesn't have the upper hand on cheaper labor over now the big three. Because now the big three, and so here you go. What's the future excuse of you getting to go buy a car? What's the future excuse of Jim Farley, Mary Barrera, Carlos Tavares? What is the excuse you'll hear down the road? Oh, these unions are killing us. These unions are killing us on the wages. And we've had to raise our prices substantially in order to offset the losses we're taking from the unions, laborers. And yeah, don't get me wrong, these greedy, individuals that have self-enriched themselves every year with all their millions of dollars. I get all that. There's the stockholders, the board members, the list gets pretty heavy and deep. But at the same time, the excuse will be it's all the union's fault that they've overpriced their labor that's created our pricing for us. Have you seen the new Ram TRX 2024 pricing? The truck's $100,000 base price. It goes to $120,000. Who has this type of money? I mean, what is going on? Wow. All right. It's heavy and deep. I'm going to leave it at that. So Monday giving, Tuesday taking, Wednesday mad, Thursday excuses. So today, does my narrative totally fit with the Indian pursuits end result today? What will Indians' presence and next action be when the bike does the same thing? And here's the thing. Maybe the bike doesn't shake as much. So does Indian use the excuse that, well, most motorcycles all have a little bit of a vibration in the front end. I mean, what are you talking about? This motorcycle here is safe. We have tons of other pursuits in the market, haven't had any issues. And yes, we've seen this complaint, but overall it's not substantial. And if you just don't ride at 40 miles an hour, it's not really going to shake much. How does that all play out? Wow, right? Yeah. All right, well, stay tuned for that. But once again, it won't surprise me to go down to Motorcycle Dulles and the bike hasn't been finished. Won't surprise me. We haven't gotten a chance to get to it. Oh, here we go, another week. And here's the thing, I will say this today. If they haven't started on it, I'm going to say, nope, it's over. We're calling Indian, and they're going to take the bike back. And if they don't, then legal recourse shall begin. So, all right, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching my channel. Appreciate all the support. And as the Dark Horse play out, if that thing was a black color, a different blue, a different color, maybe a little more exciting. But it's a long shot. And the kid, she's pretty adamant. She doesn't want to give up her white Mustang. So with that being on, I don't think it'll probably play out at all. So, hey, everybody, have a great day. God bless. Stay safe. And, wow, we just bombed Syria yesterday. How about that? World War III is here. When do the excuses prevail? The sitting administration that starts to try to explain to you that we're in World War III, and which we are, World War III. It's not comforting. I live in the D.C. area. It's not comforting at all what potentially is going to happen. So, God bless. Pray for a miracle.